Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It is a live edition, a Wednesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning, coming to you from the International Diamond Center Studios, locations across the state of Florida, right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. Gators beat Georgia last night. Pick up a bunch of dudes in the portal. Pretty good day yesterday. We'll talk more about that with Graham Hall in the second portion of the show, but let's go to JC, who's on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort. What's up?
Hey, man. Well, last night I watched that game. I watched most of it, or much of it, I should say. It was good to see the two talls, the two big boys really have a day. I thought Condon had one of his better games he's had in quite some time, and I liked the fact that they outscored Georgia by 14 in the second half. It was good to see Urban hit three three-pointers, and it was good to see the Gators score a lot of points and get off to a good home start. So, Georgia had a big win in their last game. Florida had a tough loss. In the SEC, I think you're going to see a lot of this up and down type stuff. Every game's going to be hard. Most of the games are going to be hard in this league, and home teams just always seem to have that magic behind them to win games. There will be some road teams that win, but QB, I think you agree that in this league, if you're at home, you really have an advantage in basketball. And I don't know why that is. The court is the same. The basket's the same. The free throw line's the same. But there's something about playing at home, man. It really does help. So the Gators got a home game on Saturday with Tennessee, chance to go 2-1 in the league. But it was good to see Condon, I think, show us some offense.
He's got to quit shooting three-pointers, though, man. He's not a good shooter.
Right. So stay inside and use your height and draw a foul.
We're fortunate their best player, their top big man, got kicked out of the game early.
Right. Yeah.
That helped because he's very good. It was a good win.
Yeah.
I tell you who's a team you got to watch out for are the Aggies under Bucky Ball.
Really? You like the Aggies? Okay.
They scored 90-something at Auburn last night.
Yeah,
they're the top scoring team. Mm-hmm. Well, Georgia was. I think A&M may surpass them now. But his story is remarkable. He was a high school coach for many, many years there in Birmingham at Mountain Brook High School.
Mm-hmm.
Sanford hired him a few years ago. He kept taking Sanford to the tournament. And now the Aggies have him. And dude, you talking about a fun team to watch?
Yeah, they go up and down. It's the league. QB, this league. I know people who don't follow the SEC poo-poo this, but it's cannibalistic. It really is in this league. They just eat each other. It's crazy. I think we'll have some haves and some have-nots like all conferences, but I think from 1 to 10. It's just you just don't know how it's going to go. It's tough. Tennessee, they get bombed on Saturday. They come right back and blow out Texas at home. And I think you've got Vandy and Alabama tonight. That's the headline game between two ranked teams in Nashville. This is great stuff.
Aren't they both undefeated?
Yeah, in the league they are, not overall, but in the league they're 1-0. And they'll play tonight in Nashville. They're 11. Bama, I think, is 13. You're going to see up and down basketball. It's a lot of athletic ability out there on the court, and I think the whole league is very athletic. There may be, again, a couple teams that don't really do much, but most of this league is just packed. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to tomorrow night, QB. We get the Ole Miss. It's too bad Ole Miss had one less day to prepare than Miami. So let me get the Ole Miss out. They had one less day to get ready. My Rebs, your Rebs.
At this point of the year,
it doesn't matter. I know, it doesn't matter. But they're traveling to Phoenix to play this game. They should be in Atlanta, man. They really screwed up the geography on these games. But at any rate, you're going to get this game tomorrow night. You're going to
That stadium, they're playing in Glendale, right?
Yeah.
If it's sold out, it will be 80% Ole Miss people.
I
At
hope so.
least.
I hope so. Yeah, I
No,
mean,
Miami doesn't travel. They don't have a great fan base.
no, they don't. They've spent their last two games in the state of Texas and then come back to Florida, go back to Texas, come back to Florida. Now they're going to Arizona. Those fans aren't doing. Look, the Miami fans though have a way of popping out of the woodwork from wherever they seem to go. But you're right. It's going to be certainly a pro Ole Miss crowd. This is something that fan base has not had ever really a chance to go follow their team in meaningful playoff games across all four corners of the galaxy. Let them go to Phoenix, win that game, and try to win a championship. And the ultimate irony will be that the guy who led them for the last 4 or 5 years, whatever, to try to get them to a championship will not be there because he thought he could get a better opportunity to win a championship at another school. And here's Mississippi about to win one or at least play for one this year, right now. I think it's great, and I hope they win, and I hope they play Indiana. That's what I'm rooting for. That's what I'm rooting for. Those two schools playing for a national championship was the furthest thing from anybody's mind in all of sports history. I mean, nobody saw any of this happening. Now, what will probably happen is Miami will win. They'll play Indiana, and we'll have a national championship between a school that
Reggie on
never had
Facebook
one and
Live,
one
brought to
that
you by
got five.
Melon Law, says, I think yesterday we saw the most portal movement from the Gators in one day than we've
Yeah.
seen portal since the NIL has been implemented. Yeah,
So,
look, they signed a lot of guys that they feel like can help the football team. I like what they've done.
well, this guy knows what he's doing. I mean, he has won everywhere he's gone. He's gone to championships every year he's coached. He
But
gets play.
if you read some of these people, I just think it's funny, some of these dudes that get on Twitter
Yeah,
and complain. All they do is complain. They must just
it's a
sit in
business,
the
bro.
house watching Oprah all day
It's an
and just
industry.
want to complain.
That's right.
Watch The Price is Right, then Oprah, and just bitch about everything.
Well,
Get out and do something.
the rage media, the complaining in the chat rooms, that's kind of like a cottage industry. That's what you do. And that's just seems to be the modus operandi of a lot of folks that get on this. That's why I can't watch a lot of this stuff. I'll turn on a podcast, honest to God, and 10 seconds later, I'll know whether or not I want to keep watching it. It'll be good or it'll be garbage, and then I won't waste my life watching it. I tell you, I think other than this podcast, everything else sucks. Everything else sucks. They don't know what they're talking about out there.
So Buck says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, the Philo kid has a bigger upside than Haynes King in his opinion. Look, Aaron Philo can flat out throw the football. Okay. That is the main objective of a quarterback. This dude can throw it. Tramel Jones can throw the football too. Those two guys are going to battle it out in the spring and maybe all summer long. And you got a good, I like both of them a lot. The so-called media people around America may not, because they weren't the national players of the year. They're not 6'5", 230, can throw it through a wall. I don't give a damn.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to play quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Will Griffin, I like a lot too, but I think he'll be out of the mix. I think he'll redshirt is my guess, unless he just lights it up in camp.
Yeah, like you did. I mean, nobody thought Shane Matthews was going to be the starting quarterback for the Gators. Anything's possible, bro, because the new coach is going to get what he wants behind center, and that's going to be the guy. And the only way he's going to know who that guy is when they're out there doing it, right? Right, QB? How many passes did you watch Aaron Philo throw this past season?
He didn't play much this year. He played last year.
Okay. He played
this year.
I don't know.
I can't remember. I don't really care.
I
really care.
Yeah, I don't either. But if this is going to be your guy, well, for me,
it could be Tramel.
It could be, and that's great too. Just get me somebody that can get the damn ball in the end zone, please.
Well,
that's what I want.
They have, on paper, they got a lot of good wideouts. Jaden Ball's coming back. Everybody's got to be happy. We picked up a damn good running back from Cincinnati who initially went to Ohio State in his first year, who is outstanding as well. So I like what they're doing, and we'll go from there. All right. Gallo Car Wash is locally owned by a UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Locations on Northwest 13th Street, Wilson Road, and coming soon to Jonesville. I actually went to Gallo Car Wash yesterday
Did you?
and got my car washed.
You got a fancy SUV, QB. You got to take care of that thing. Don't let it, take care of it.
That's
Get
right.
the oil changed, get the tires inflated, make sure the belts and hoses are good.
Now you're a mechanic. All right, so we got a text here on the Titan Lamar text line. It says, Shane, what are your thoughts on what's going on with the Washington quarterback? Supposedly he re-signed with Washington for a significant amount of money and now is trying to get out of it because LSU and Miami are throwing a lot of money at him. Hey, it's crazy. There are no rules or regulations, I guess.
I think college football is losing a little identity here with this crazy free agency. They're going to get it figured out, but they better do it soon because these players jumping ship every other year to just chase the dollar. There's got to be some guidelines. We talked about this ad nauseum. I mean, it's the same thing. But there is something to be said, I think, for changing rosters so dramatically each year. It does lose a little appeal to me. I mean, you don't have the same team, or you don't have guys coming back. Now, in this case, we have plenty of players coming back, but on Florida's roster. But just college football has got to do something about this. I mean, when you can throw $5 million to a kid from Cincinnati to come play in Texas, you got a lot of money.
Well, supposedly, I saw this morning on Twitter. I think his name is Demond Williams, a quarterback at Washington.
Yeah, yeah.
Supposedly LSU now is throwing in like $6 million. I
mean,
are we serious here?
What are we doing? First of all, I deal with a lot of people that have a lot of money. I do. I talk to them daily. I don't know one person, and I mean, I've got some elephants. I don't know one of these people who would literally say to me, "Hey, JC, I need to do a withdrawal. I need to send $4.5 million to this 18-year-old over there in the Panhandle of Texas because I truly believe he's going to help our football team here win games." That would be the furthest thing from the minds of people who I know, whether they're clients or not. I know a lot of people who are not clients that have an ass ton of money. That's the furthest thing from their mind, bro. I don't know who these folks are. I don't care. But it's crazy to me to think that even if you have the means, that you're going to write a check for 12 months to some kid that you think to come play football for some coach that you barely know, and it's a good idea. I can't understand it. I just to this day don't understand it. I'm with you. I don't get that. And yet that's what's happening. And it blows my freaking mind. We're talking about kids who are between 18 and 22 years old. This is not what I think college football wants to be.
Well, here's what's crazy is it's
pro football, QB.
No, it is, but it's pro football with no rules. And I've always said you coaches live in coaches' world, athletes live in athletes' world. When the real world is not reality.
That's right.
Is that thing not working?
No, it's
not reality. And so they're getting all this money now. And a lot of them, if they go to the NFL, they're going to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
It's a fact. Carson Beck's a great example of that.
I mean, the most I ever made, JC, in 1 year, and I played 14 years in the NFL, was $750,000.
Which is a great living.
I mean, I'm not going to complain about it, but think about that.
Yeah. No, that's chump change. That gets you a tight end today, maybe. I mean, right?
A bad tight end, probably. I mean, it's unbelievable. All right, so I wondered if I could get this damn thing to work.
What are you trying to do?
Well, the Facebook, I want to read some of the Facebooks, but on the computer, once they go by, you can't scroll back down. So I have to pull it up on my phone. Andy says on Facebook, will we ever find out how much Jaden Ball signed for? I would say a little over $1 million. I don't think they gave him much more than that.
Pretty good day.
Yeah, Joseph says, I wonder how much Ole Miss is paying the QB and running back to come back instead of falling in the lane. They're sticking it to him every way they can. I will tell you this. I do believe Trinidad and Keywan Lacey are getting over $3 million
Whew.
each.
Well,
I
Kiwan
do
just
believe that. People forget Ole Miss, majority of their collective is Google a guy named Dickie Scruggs.
okay. Yeah.
Okay. He older gentleman. JC, he was one of the first to sue the tobacco companies and all that kind of stuff back in the day. But they got old money deep in the cotton fields
Yeah.
in Mississippi,
That's
buried.
where, yes. Yeah, no, that's where it's all at. That's where it's
Yeah.
at in Alabama. That's where it's at in a lot of southern states. I mean, yeah, I can just tell you that if your team handles its business with the right players and coaches and you're competitive, you don't have to be the highest paying, you don't have to be not involved in it. You just want to be competitive. But I don't know how this is sustainable. It is actually not sustainable. One good old fashioned recession takes care of this. And I don't want that to happen either, because then my income goes to hell. But the reality is that cyclically speaking, this is going to revert to the mean. It is. It's not going to continue. It's not sustainable. And I think we're just being haphazard with a lot of this. And I don't think this is what college football wants to be. I just don't think it is. But they're being forced to do it because of the market. But the market will eventually correct. It absolutely will. If you don't believe that, then you simply are naive. That is a fact. That's going to happen.
Baron71 on YouTube says, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Austin Simmons is linked to Missouri. I figured he'd go to LSU. But LSU's trying to get Sam Levitt, Damon Williams. These kids are going to go where they can get the most money. It's that simple.
It is that simple. And that's what mom and dad want too. And if you have the fortune of being part of this space-time continuum right now, you're a very lucky person, because a lot of athletes out there. And listen, here's the other problem. Not that the non-revenue sports aren't important, because they are for these athletes too that compete the same way in their sports, but they're not getting anything remotely close to what some of these football players are getting. And granted, football pays the bills, right? But football.
But do you know the highest paid, supposedly the highest paid NIL athlete on campus
No,
at University of Florida is?
No, I have no idea.
More than DJ.
No, I don't know.
Alex Condon, which
God
I don't
bless.
understand that either.
I don't know.
Jeff says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Shane, I love your analysis during the game day calls and blunt assessments. Have you ever coached or wanted to coach? Appreciate it, Jeff. I coached high school ball for a while. I played too long. I've always said I wish I would have not played pro ball and started as a graduate assistant under Coach Spurrier out of college, because I would be fired multiple times by now and have about $80 million in the bank. Seriously. Tell me a coach, JC, I've said it multiple times. Do you know one football coach that's never been fired?
Right. No. And in many cases, like in the NFL, it's not a demotion, really. It's just a transfer. In college, it kind of sometimes looks like a demotion, but do you think Billy Napier's feeling shitty right now? No, not at all. I mean, he didn't get it done in Florida, but he's going to do it somewhere else.
I probably was blessed more to be a coach than I was as a player because of my mental game, but time has passed by. I could get into coaching now if I wanted, but I like the way my schedule works now, because I like to play golf.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if you went ahead and made a couple million coaching. It wouldn't bother me.
Right. All right. Here's a text on the Titan More text line. Shane, you're absolutely right about Alex Condon. Every time I watch him play, I wonder what all the hype is about. He is half the player that Hawk is. I've said this last year, and people got mad at me. And it's not a knock on him. You know, as fans and as athletes, you watch people and you say, "Man, that dude's got game." I don't see it. I don't see what the NBA scouts. I compare him to DJ. You know, they'll make a few plays during the course of a game. You go, holy crap. But then the other 85% of the game, you're like, why are they playing? That's how I view it. I wish them well, but I just don't see it.
They had a lot of, the glorious Nat Blaylock 5173 agrees with you. It should be Hawk. But
Yeah.
listen, let it continue on. It will eventually. This is going to be the guy. If he keeps playing like this as the season progresses, that's going to be your leader. MSRK, who is a very loyal watcher, says, look what Indiana did with the money they had, a lot of stars. And he makes the point that coaching is the key here. And
Coaching is key, and get players that can do what you need to do.
that's right.
I mean, listen, let's be honest. Between Trinidad Chambliss and Fernando Mendoza,
Amazing.
they're elite players.
Very much.
They have an elite skill set that allows you to be better, your team be better than they possibly are on paper, so to speak.
Yeah.
But anyway,
they uplift everyone on that.
yes.
No question.
Josh from Wamama on the Titanmar text line says, gentlemen, interesting that Lane's two QBs as starting running back didn't go to LSU with him. No Ole Miss players did. Did we dodge a bullet? Well, I don't know if any Ole Miss players can technically say they're going to LSU, but here's the deal. I don't think there's any way in the world with the season that Ole Miss is having that Trinidad Chambliss, he seems like a great kid. Just
he does.
listen to him.
Well spoken.
Could any way he could say, I'm getting an extra year of eligibility. I'm not going to stay here at Ole Miss that kind of made me who I am. There's no way he could do that.
I can't
He's
see
not. And it's the same way with Kewan Lacey.
Well, he's sticking around. I think they're going to.
But I do think those guys love Pete Golding.
They did. You're right. And that Keith Carter, he was brilliant with what he did and the way he handled that situation, in my opinion. I look at it somewhat subjectively as opposed to objectively because I think Ole Miss was done wrong. But I understand why Lane did what Lane did because it's his life. But I don't like the way it was handled, and I don't like the fact that Mississippi had to deal with that in what is the biggest moment of their entire school's history on this subject.
So to answer Josh's question, yeah, we dodged a bullet. Look, I think Lane's a hell of a coach.
Oh, he is.
But with this whole situation, I think it's really made Lane look bad.
Right. And listen, Gator fans, we said it the day after it happened. This dude you got today knows what he's doing. I'll just put it that way. He just knows what he's doing. The other guy was in over his head, and everybody knows it. So this guy is different. And I think Florida is going to be very happy 3 years from now when we're talking about looking back.
No, the hell with 3 years. We need to win next year.
No, I agree. Absolutely.
I ain't waiting around. We ain't waiting around, Jason.
No. I'm just saying when you look back, as we will look back, because he's got a 6-year contract, maybe or 7. I think when you look back in the future, you're going to be very happy with what you see.
Nat says Ole Miss needs a home run hire at OC. They've already hired John David Baker from East Carolina. He's very good. It's the same system. Miapa Latin Cafe, order your holiday package today. No one does catering like Miapa Latin Cafe. Let me back up. I think John David Baker signed
for Ole Miss.
Hired by Ole Miss.
Where is he from?
East Carolina.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I mean, Pete Golding has his guys. Lane Kiffin has his guys.
Hey, it would not surprise me if Charlie Weiss Jr.
Yeah.
Whether they win or lose or whatever, one of these NFL teams doesn't hire him.
Yeah. Coaching is a small business, and everybody's poking, right?
Yeah.
Not a very big business. But
JC, we've had a bunch of people here talk about, are we surprised about John Harbaugh being fired? I am. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should hire him immediately.
Tomorrow. And, 18 years with the Ravens, you got one championship, could have had more. But I don't blame John Harbaugh for the fact that Lamar Jackson just couldn't get it done in the playoffs when he had the chance many years ago and many years from. And John Harbaugh, the owner bought Lamar Jackson. That was who he had to deal with. And Lamar Jackson is great in many ways, but Lamar Jackson doesn't have many playoff wins, folks. That's just the truth. Neither does Justin Herbert. And so as great as they are, what I define as great is what happens in the postseason. That's how I define greatness. I see it when it counts. And that's what I did not see Lamar Jackson do a whole lot in the postseason. And John Harbaugh, I think, was victim to that. I think his teams were great. And I think he knows what he's doing in the NFL. He does have a Super Bowl, but 18 years is a long time. And I think Bisciotti, the owner, wanted something new. He just wanted a new face. and not making the playoffs this year had a lot to do with the injuries they had, but everybody has them. Some teams are more lucky than others. That's all.
John on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, says, QB and JC, what NFL job is the most appealing that is open right now?
I think it's Atlanta.
Why?
Well, because I like Bijan Robinson.
Well, that's the only guy.
Well,
Look, Penix is a good, decent player, but he's hurt. He's been hurt his whole career, college and the pros. Let's see who holds open, JC.
Well, Atlanta's open. Arizona is open. I don't see that being very attractive. The New York Giants, I think, will be open or is open.
It is. It's been open.
So maybe it's the New York Giants. I don't know. They've got Jackson Dart. They've got some things there that are working. So it could be the Giants. The Raiders don't seem very attractive to me, but Tom Brady's going to find a coach for that sorry owner. I mean, he's a terrible owner, but he's the last name says Davis on his birth certificate. So you got the Raiders. There's plenty. There's 7. You said 7 or 8.
I didn't say that. I don't know.
Well, okay. So I just named 4: New York, Atlanta, Phoenix, and
I would say
Cleveland is another one.
Cleveland's got a great defense, man.
They are good, man. They're very good. Shador, I think, did about as well as you can expect.
I would probably lean. I mean, Baltimore, they don't play defense like they used to, but I mean, you still got all pro guys at the quarterback and running back position. You know how long they're going to play. However, the Giants have a very good defense too, and I love Jackson Dart.
Yeah, and they're going to get that kid back that got hurt.
So I may lean towards the Giants.
Okay, yeah, and I mean they're going to get the running back, Scatterboo. He'll come back from injury. He'll be ready to go. So the Giants could be one. I know. There's others I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but I'm not. I don't know. I thought Atlanta might be, but maybe you're right. Maybe Atlanta.
Well, I love Bijan Robinson. I think he's the best back in football.
Yeah, I think many people agree with that.
But other than that, I don't know who they have.
But Tampa Bay, you're right. I think Todd Bowles has run his course. I don't know what else he's going to accomplish there at Tampa Bay. Yeah, they had to deal with injuries, to Godwin and a lot of players, but man, they collapsed. They really collapsed. That's terrible.
Andy says on Facebook,
is Tennessee open?
Huh?
Is Tennessee?
Tennessee is open, but I don't. From a living standpoint, I'd sign up to live in outside of Nashville.
That's right.
There's someone on ESPN suggested the Raiders draft Mendoza with the #1 pick and try to pry Cignetti away from Indiana to coach. How does that dynamic work for you in the HBC? It wasn't great in the pros, but here's the deal. I didn't think about Cignetti. That's right. The Raiders are looking for a coach.
Yeah, Tom Brady's in charge of that. Tom Brady is in charge of finding the coach.
He and some other dudes on that. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't even think about Cignetti going to the pros.
I think Cignetti's a college guy. He reminds me of Saban. Saban didn't make it in the pros. Spurrier did not make it in the pros very well. I think some guys are college guys and some guys have that NFL. I think Kirk Cignetti is all about the Saban coaching tree and being a college coach and molding and developing young people. I don't know if he's an administrative type of NFL guy that wants to deal with those egos and those salaries. Now you're kind of doing it now in college, but
yeah, but those salaries, you have a salary, you have a set amount of money to spend.
Yeah, that's
where
right.
you don't in college.
Right. Well, he's 65 years old. I can't imagine why he'd want to deal. He's got such a good thing going at Indiana right now. Why would you ever even consider leaving that for the freaking Mark Davis Raider? Come on. It's not about money. He doesn't need it. Yeah. He's got it. He's not going anywhere. I do think, though, Mendoza would be somebody they consider as a first draft pick for sure.
All right, JC. Are you doing JC wins tomorrow?
I don't think I'm ready for that yet right now because I'm not up to date on basketball and I've got a trip I've got to take to Central Florida today. So I'm truly focused on some other things.
So then we need your pick since we won't have you tomorrow.
We will kick off
in the Ole Miss.
Right. So we will kick off Win with JC next Thursday. But I just can't tomorrow. I've just got too much to do. But I like if we're going into the playoffs this weekend, and there's so Friday I'll be on. We'll talk
I
the
just
NFL.
asked, give me the Ole Miss.
Okay. Oh, sorry. All right. We're going to take Mississippi +3, and we're going to take Indiana laying 3.5. Buy it to 3 if you can't, because that's going to be a close game, I think.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports. We'll get his thoughts on the basketball game and all the stuff that happened in the portal yesterday. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
All right.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Linderos Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, Castaway Sauce, UF Health Orthopedics. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sports, Comfort Temp, Florida Cracker Oyster, Electronics World, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Advocare, MG&A Wealth. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And to advertise, call my man Freddie, 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. Setbacks. Injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Castaway Hot Sauce Company, from mile to while. They have a flavor for every Gator fan, available at your local Publix. You can check them out at castawaysaucecompany.com. Back to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. It's our man Graham Hall, who has been a busy man. What's up, Graham? How you doing, bud?
What's going on, Shane? Good to be here, man. Happy New Year to everyone out there. Exciting time at Florida. SEC basketball's here. Baseball's right around the corner. Portal season is in full effect. Busy time, man. Great time in Gainesville to follow the Gators as always.
Yep. And let's start with the portal. Yesterday, probably the biggest day that I can remember from the portal standpoint that the Gators have ever had. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I think some valuable additions for Florida. That first portal weekend paid off. You know, the way a lot of these visits are scheduled, you kind of want to get your priority guys in the building for that first weekend, get the first shot at them. And how you come out of that weekend is certainly going to be how it's a momentum boost for you, certainly. And for John Summerall and his coaching staff, it was an opportunity to show that they could land visitors coming out of visits before they left campus, before they went elsewhere. And I think they did a really good job of that. I mean, landing Bailey Stockton, Aaron Philo, I think a lot of those two were maybe not a given, but a lot of people thought that those made the most sense for Florida, given the Georgia Tech ties, given Philo's decision to enter the portal before Georgia Tech's bowl game, the Gators in need of a quarterback there as well, and certainly to add some wide receivers there. But landing them when they would have had offers elsewhere was certainly impressive for Florida. Then you look at just who else they've been able to land, getting some specialists. I know that's kind of, it's overlooked, certainly, but Florida loses not just 3 specialists from this past season, but they lose Their starting kicker and their starting punter, 5 specialists from last year's team, along with special teams coordinator Joe Houston as well, replacing them with the guys from Tulane. I know some people may look at that and be like, well, of course they're going to get guys from Tulane. Those guys were all conference guys. So landing them was certainly significant in my mind. And then they have more here on the horizon. We're going to keep seeing midweek visits this upcoming weekend. It's a hectic portal window as well. The one that really impressed me, and I'm not even going to attempt to butcher his name until I actually can nail it, is the Jack State defensive lineman.
Agreed.
I mean, fantastic build. This is someone who was going to, and maybe not from Florida, he was going to get top money from other SEC programs. I mean, I'm talking more than probably, 700K from some of these SEC programs out here. He left his visit in Gainesville this weekend and went to College Station to visit Texas A&M to show you the interest he's having from other SEC programs, and then still came off that Texas A&M visit and committed to Florida. That's significant for the Gators that they can keep doing that when maybe they don't even have the top financial offer available in the room. Speaks to the staff's ability to recruit, speaks to the opportunity available within that defensive front for Florida. So I think it was a successful weekend for Florida, as evidenced by the visitors that they've already landed. And like I said, they're going to keep adding more. There's certainly a handful of positions that they're going to keep targeting, whether it's running back, wide receiver, secondary. I think needs to continue adding some numbers as well, just given the guys that they lost from last year's team. But it's a really good start, in my opinion, for Coach John Summerall's staff.
Yeah, we had a couple people want to get your thoughts on the offensive line pickups. Most have come from, I believe, Georgia Tech and Penn State. You hear some of these negative people about Georgia Tech's linemen. Let me tell you something. If you watch Georgia Tech play, they have nasty offensive linemen. Their physicality, you go watch them play Georgia the last 2 years. They beat Georgia up at the line of scrimmage a lot in those games. But your thoughts on the O-line pickups?
Well, let me first say this, and this is just overall. People were so pumped about Phil Troutwine coming back to Gainesville. And in my opinion, the natural leap is to, trust the guy a little bit more. If he's bringing in Penn State offensive linemen, whether it's TJ Shanahan or Egan Boyer, or adding guys from Georgia Tech, they're in the mix for Harrison Moore as well out of Georgia Tech, who it looks like Florida has a really good chance of landing him. I expect him to join Florida's transfer class. Give Troutwine a little bit of, respect in his ability to land top talent and develop as well. He knows what it takes. So I don't think anyone should be doubting if he thinks someone has what it takes to come into Florida and compete for a job. I think he should be given a little bit of grace and respect that he knows maybe more than a lot of people out there, obviously more than me as well when it comes to identifying talent. And, Florida also is returning some of their top offensive linemen from last year as well. So maybe they're not going to be the team that's in the mix for the top offensive linemen out there because they're going to have an open competition. They're returning Fletcher Westfall, Caden Jones, Bryce Lovett, Jason Zandamella, Roderick Kearney. I mean, that's what 5 guys I just mentioned right there, young guys who are competing for roles. And then you can add multiple guys on top of that who have starting experience or were former blue chip prospects. That's significant in my mind. You obviously need to have 10 offensive linemen that you can rely upon, and Florida's getting there in those numbers, certainly in my mind. So I'm not sitting here and judging where guys come from, whether it's Georgia Tech, whether it's an FCS school. If Phil Troutwine wants them, Florida fans wanted him, and they should trust in who he's identifying to come into the program. That's just the simplest way that I see it overall.
Agree 100%. A lot of questions and comments about Jaden Woods. What's the latest there?
Yeah, Florida has continued to push for him to return to Gainesville. When he announced his intention to enter the Florida, it wasn't because of financials. It was because of a fit within a defense. He had offers from multiple top programs around the country. Texas was a team for him. Alabama was certainly in the mix as well for him. And Florida needed to re-recruit him a little bit, even though he had a really, really good offer on the table to return to Florida. Felt like he would be more of a guy who would have success in a 3-4. And I think you look at obviously Will Muschamp going to Texas makes a ton of sense for him to give that program some interest, would have a really good opportunity to not just start there for the Longhorns, but be a significant contributor on the edge for them. He goes on a visit to Texas, doesn't end up committing, giving John Summerall and Bam Hardman a really good chance at making another run at him. They initially tried to keep him from entering the portal. He ends up entering the portal, but keeps Florida in the back of his mind, maybe not even the back of his mind, as a really good second option for his sophomore season. Last night, Florida coach John Summerall, Greg Gasparotto, and Bam Hardman went to meet with him at his home. I think that this could be a situation where Florida ends up luring a guy back to the program, similar to Amir Jackson, a guy who intended to enter the portal, does enter the portal, and ends up deciding that, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So we'll see what ends up happening here. He may take another visit. I can't rule it out, but I think Florida is in a good place to potentially bring him back, which would be absolutely significant for Florida. You bring back Jaden Baugh as well. You bring back Vernell Brown. You bring back Cam James along the edge, Dallas Wilson. I know everyone cares about the shiny new toys and the top names out there in the portal, but from watching Florida last year, the young talent on the roster was undeniable. You're going to have to spend to retain in this day and age. If you do well on the recruiting trail and you have young guys blossom and perform well, you're going to have to spend to keep them. That's just the reality of the business right now. And if they can bring back Jaden Woods, it's going to be another huge win for John Summerall. So I would certainly look for a decision on that front in the coming days, if not possibly today. There have been some times, Shane, where I've been on your show and said, hey, watch out for this, watch out for this. And we hop off here and 2 hours later it pops off. And not to say I'm prophetic in any way, but that's just the way things work in this business. It can change by the minute. You could see something today, or this could be something that drags out in a couple more days where Woods wants to make a final decision, make sure he's making the right one for his future. And no one can doubt him. If you take off the orange and blue glasses, who doesn't want a young man to make the right decision for himself, to put himself in the best position for his career? And if that ends up being Florida, that's huge for the fan base. It's huge for the program. So we'll see what ends up happening for him. But Florida's in a much better spot than they were a week ago. I'll say that.
Text here on the Titan Mark text line. This is, I'm not sure who it's from, says, you can watch Aaron Follow on YouTube to get an idea how he plays. In my opinion, he's similar to Kyle Trask. And then he also asked any word on Nashawn Montgomery.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Montgomery. We'll see there. Another one that I can include in the mix that, he's in the portal. We'll see if Florida makes another push for him. I think it's certainly possible. I don't know what his visit schedule looks like. I know that he's continued to talk to Florida's staff while being in the portal. We'll see what ends up happening with him. They've obviously looked at other options as well. They had Micah Mays, the Wake Forest transfer wide receiver, in on a visit as well. I mentioned Bailey Stockton. So you have to have contingency plans in this day and age. You can't just solely rely on bringing back your pieces. And if Nashawn ends up coming back to Florida, I do think that'd be significant because I think he is one of the more talented wide receivers out there. And he's someone who hasn't made a decision, obviously. You've seen Tank Hawkins head to Washington State. Moise Tunkara is going to land somewhere good as well. Bringing back a guy an in-state guy who was productive as a freshman, maybe wasn't as productive as, Vernell or Dallas Wilson. Not many freshmen out there in the country were. That would be big for Florida because it would give them a piece that they can continue developing. So we'll see for Nashawn Montgomery as well. Aaron Philo, I get maybe why some people are hesitant about him, but that guy can absolutely play. Maybe he doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, but you don't need that. You don't need a guy who needs to be able to go out there and throw it 60 yards down the field. And sometimes I hate these terms game manager because it seems to be taking a shot at some guys' physical tools. The guy just makes good decisions, and he's been a winner for the last 5 years. You look at his high school record, and I know it's high school, but he still holds the Georgia passing yards record and he broke Trevor Lawrence's Georgia high school passing record with more than 13,000 yards. The guy knows what it takes to win. He looked good in the one start that he had last year. You talk about resiliency as a quarterback. He makes his first start last year against Gardner Webb, and you watch the beginning of the game, made some bad decisions. I think he had 2 turnovers very early in that game against Gardner Webb. He bounced back and went 21 of 26 the rest of the way, had more than 600 yards of offense in his first start. Now, I'm not saying that that should be the expectation every time he comes in, but this is someone who certainly looks good on film. If he can continue adding weight, get in better shape, improve his mechanics, he's got good footwork in my mind. And, Shane, we were just talking all last year about a quarterback who needs to improve his footwork. I think Philo's is better than DJ Lagway's is. So this is someone who I think is going to have a good chance to compete for the starting job. Now, he's not going to be handed the starting job. Let's make that very clear. Florida is going to allow Tramel Jones Jr. and probably Will Griffin as well to compete with Philo and maybe whatever quarterback they end up bringing in. I don't think it's going to be one of the top names in the portal, but they're going to need to add another quarterback, in my mind, to this roster. You need to have 4 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. So Philo is a really good piece to compete for the job in spring camp. Maybe he has the edge given his familiarity with AJ Erdely and Buster Faulkner coming in from Georgia Tech. But this is someone that I would caution people not to write off or base off of maybe even what you see on film from Georgia Tech, because he's going to have more talent around him and he's going to certainly look to make a leap in his third year in college. So I think people should be cautiously optimistic about his talent level now that he's on Florida's roster.
Real quick, before we jump into basketball, Reggie on Facebook Live brought to you by Mel Law says, where does Nick Polk lowball Barreau? Why is this guy even offering players when we have a general manager in place?
Yeah, I can't speak to all that. I've heard things behind the scenes involving Florida's, general manager role about how they tried to get some deals done after the season before before Dave Caldwell and John Summerall were even here. And the market is what the market is. What may seem like a good offer in November may end up looking like a lowball offer a month later. And that's not in defense of anyone. That's just the realistic answer to what the market is right now. I mean, there are guys in the portal that are wanting 700, 800K who play tight end and are third string running back. That's not sustainable in my mind. And just because another school is willing to pay that to you because they need you more than maybe your former school doesn't mean that you were lowballing them necessarily. And again, I'm not defending anyone or trying to dismiss what you're saying, but I don't know necessarily how overblown that is. And Mekhi Barreau is a great talent. I think he's going to have a good career, but and I'll be straight up, there were some legitimate concerns about his longevity. He played well and he fought through injury this year, but for those who don't know, he needed to have his knee drained consistently more than once a week last season. And defensive line behind the quarterback position is one of the most coveted in the portal. And if your former program has any concerns about you and another program is willing to pay you more and maybe doesn't have those concerns about you, like I just said, I'm not going to knock the young man for making the decision that he thinks is best for his future, where he can maybe guarantee himself a more consistent role. So it is what it is. He's heading to another SEC program. I'm going to keep rooting for the guy. I know that maybe if you're a Florida fan out there, I'm not telling you to keep rooting for players now that they're on other rosters, especially because Florida's going to face them. But Mekhi did everything right, worked hard, got in shape, dropped more than 40 pounds, transformed his body. It just wasn't going to work out for him in 2026 for one reason or another, whether it's being lowballed or whether it's he had a better offer elsewhere, which that's just the reality of searching for a job, whether you play football or whether you're an accountant. So,
Yeah,
it's
it's what I say all the
situation.
time. You and I can look at the same player, Graham, You may like him, I may not. I may think we could find somebody better or be a better fit. It is what it is. That's the reality we live in today. Whether we lowballed him or gave him too much, whatever. You wish him well and move on to the next guy. All right, real quick before we get out of here, basketball last night, a big win at home. I thought we got a break when the Georgia big man got thrown out of the game. That helped. But it was nice to see Urban knock down some shots. Going to really need to make shots this Saturday against Tennessee.
Yeah, the shooting is the icing on the cake in my mind because this Florida team does so many other things well. They get out in transition, they kill you on the glass. I mean, another game where they had more than 20 offensive rebounds, they had more eight second chance points more than Georgia. They had a massive rebounding advantage. They outscored Georgia in the paint by 20, and a lot of that is because Samto Surreal got thrown out of the game. Samto came into the game averaging more than 81% from the field. I think he had made 27 of his last 30 field goals, which is just, I'm not going to do that in an open gym if you put me underneath the basket. I mean, he was a huge factor. Georgia came into the game leading the nation in block shots per game at more than 8 block shots per game. Him getting thrown out of the game was absolutely significant for Florida. Thomas Houck and Alex Condon were terrific, 21 points apiece. Houck just does everything for Florida. I mean, how can you watch that guy and not just love his energy, what he brings to Florida? It's invaluable. I mean, he steals, he gets blocks, he gets back down the court, he communicates well, he knocks down open shots. He's a fantastic passer. I mean, that pass he threw out of a double team, the bounce pass down the baseline to Urban in the corner for the three was just, I mean, that is NBA level stuff. This is the guy that appreciate him while he is here because he is going to the NBA in June and he is more than likely a top 20 pick. We talk about Ken Palm all the time. You look at the National Player of the Year rankings in Ken Palm, Thomas Houck is in the top 10 of those. This is the guy that he wasn't in the preseason All-American conversation. He wasn't someone that many people were saying this is going to be a guy who could be first team All-SEC. He's in contention to be the National Player of the Year. He's fantastic. I know Boogie Flan and Xavier Lee have left a good bit to be desired from their shot making, but Boogie Flan had a good game. 8 points, 8 rebounds for a guard is really, really good. And then he had 6 assists a game after having 7 assists against Missouri. The shots are going to fall for him at some point. It just feels like a matter of time. He's shooting less than 14% from 3-point land than he shot last season. Something's got to give. I mean, knock on wood, he's going to hit shots here. I'm not trying to jinx him or anything like that, but it feels like a matter of time. But last night's game was proof that Florida, even when they don't shoot the ball well from long range, they have enough talent. They can beat you inside. They run a good half-court offense. They get shots at the rim at a high rate. They get to the free throw line, and they have fantastic defense. Georgia came into the game leading the nation in points per game at nearly 100 points per game, and they held them to a season-low 77. Again, some of that is because the Surreal got knocked out of the game, but Florida's game, their performance last night was indicative of a team that can still win games in this league, even when they're not shooting the ball well from outside.
Graham, great stuff as always. One of the best in the business. Let everybody know where they can follow you. Any specials going on right now?
Yeah, we're still running our 50% off through January 19th, I believe. So portal coverage, basketball coverage. I got 5 takeaways from last night's game, about 2,000 words dropping here in the next 30 minutes from last night's game. A lot of stuff coming, recruiting, coaching follows as well. A ton of stuff over at Swamp 247. Like I said, baseball will be here before we know it. We'll have football camp coverage as well. A busy time in Gainesville. Would love for you to join our community. Talk whatever you want. We got a lot of off-topic conversations too. Come talk about movies, music, whatever you're watching, whatever you're following. Come talk about it with us. Would love to have you. And I know we'll do this again here soon, Shane. It's a busy time. It's a great time in Florida. It's always a pleasure to join you, man. You're one of the best at this.
Appreciate it, Graham. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon, my man.
Pleasure's all mine. Y'all take care out there.
That is Graham Hall. Join us on the Titanmore Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp Silverback Concrete, builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by. Again, thanks to Graham and JC for today's program. Thanks for y'all's comments, questions, all that good stuff. And we'll be here tomorrow, folks. Have a great day. Take care.